Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you some techniques about running Anova, which is analysis of variance. So before we start to show you the demos, I'm going to just briefly introduce something about Anova. So let's start with the independent variables we're going to use for Anova. There are two types of independent variables we can use in Anova. The first one is categorical, such as gender, ethnicity, social, like SES. And the other type will be continuous, which is a very strange when you first heard like a continuous variable can be used as an independent variable in ANOVA. These variables are very common in our everyday life, such as age, like your height, blood pressure, such and such. And as for the dependent variable, it has to be a continuous one, like your academic performance, your scores, running speed, such and such. Okay, so under what circumstance we can use ANOVA? Well, the first thing is one-way ANOVA, which only includes one independent variables, which we call IV. And this independent variable is categorical. And it has to have more than two levels. Say, gender was not appropriate to run ANOVA because gender only have two categories, like female and male. But like, let's say, ethnicity background, that would be a good way, like good variables to test in ANOVA, because ethnicity usually have more than two levels, say Caucasian, Asian, and African. This is a good example. Of course, the dependent variables has to be continuous. Okay, say we give you examples here is whether the height is the same for Asian, Caucasian, and African population. So the dependent variable in this example is the population's height, and the independent variable here is ethnicity background. They have three levels. It has three levels, like Asian, Caucasian, and African. Okay. The other types of ANOVA is like two-way ANOVA, or we can say multiple ways ANOVA. So the way means the number of independent variables. So two-way ANOVA has two independent variables. So these two independent variables, at least one of them has to be categorical. The other one, of course, can be either categorical or continuous. And the other thing is the dependent variable has to be continuous. One thing you need to pay attention is once you run multiple way ANOVA, which includes more than one independent variable, then it doesn't have to be required. The category independent variable has to have more than two levels. So if you have more than one independent variable, it doesn't matter if you have two or more than two levels for each category variables, independent variable. Say, here's an example. Whether gender and ethnic background affect student academic achievements. So we have two independent variables here. One is gender, which will be female and male. The other one will be ethnic background. It can be, like last example, can be Asian, Caucasian, African, and dependent variables academic achievements. So we take this thing as a dependent variable, continuous one. Here's another example. Whether gender and IQ affect students' running speed. Now we have two independent variables. One is gender, is categorical. The other one is IQ scores. IQ scores is a continuous one. It can range from 70 to 130 something. Like the dependent variable is a running speed, which definitely is a continuous one. Okay, now I'm going to have you a demo of one-way and two-way ANOVA. Hi everyone, now I'm going to show you a demo about running ANOVAs in SPSS. First, I'm going to show you a one-way ANOVA. First, Now we open the dataset, then go to Analyze, then General Linear Model, and go to Univariate. Univariate means you only have one dependent variables. That's just what we have. Okay, now first, one-way ANOVA. One-way ANOVA means we only have one independent variables, and it has to be categorical, which has more than 2 levels. Let's look for it. Say procrastination. Okay, now we put the categorical variables under a fixed factor window, and dependent variable, say we care about the hand circumference. Then it moves to dependent variables. Okay, the next step is trying to select some options. Here, for the estimate marginal means, we put them to the right and click check here. For the display, then we select the descriptive statics, estimates of effect size, parameter estimates, and homogeneity test, and that's it. Okay, click OK. Here we go. Okay, here first we'll see the independent variables. Like we have 3 levels. What does each level, the label of each level, and the number of cases. The second window gives you the very simple descriptive statistics, which includes means, standard deviations, and the number of cases. Okay, very easy. And here, this is a Levene's test for equality of error variance. If this number, like the significant number, is larger than 0.05, that will be perfect for our ANOVA, which is the case. Okay, now we go to the most important part, which will be test of between subjects effects, because we're running one-way ANOVA and this variable is not repeat measured, so this is the one we're looking for. Okay, here let's look at the third row. This is a main effect of our independent variable, which is procrastination, and you can see the degree of freedom of this main effect is 2, and significance is, well, it's not significant, it's 0.129. And here's a eta square, which is effect size. This is the parameter. Yeah, not too much important. And the last one is the power, observed power. Okay, then we look at this. The next row is error. It's an error item. It tells you the degree of freedom of error. So if you want to write it up of your ANOVA results, so you have to put 2 degree freedoms in your statements, like in your writing ups. Like the first statement, the first degree of freedom would be this number 2, and the second degree of freedom should be this 42. So you will write it like this: F 2, then comma 42 within the preferences. Okay, here's our one-way ANOVA. Now next, I'm going to show you our two-way ANOVAs. Two-way ANOVA will run under the same window, which is a general linear model, then univariate. Okay. Now this time, first let's clean up all the stuff here. So here, before we really put something in these windows, I'm going to tell a little bit about this window called covariates. So what does covariates mean? And what does fixed factors mean? These are very important things for us to run our ANOVAs with different kind of independent variables. Say, if we have categorical independent variable, all these categorical independent variable should go to fixed factors, say sex. say, race, ethnic background. And if we say we would like to put some continuous independent variable into this ANOVA to analyze it, then these continuous independent variables should go to this covariate window, because covariate, well, it means this variable is continuous. Say we put our left sum, the length of left sum here, because continuous, we leave it here. Okay, because we run two-way, then we only need two independent variables. And the dependent variable, I'm still put the hand circumferences here. Okay, now before we clicking OK, there's a very important things we need to check. If we have a continuous variable as an independent variable in our ANOVA, that is here, the first button. We click Model, then they'll give us a new window. Here we need to click this Customer to specify our models. Okay, now we have to do some selection part. First, we need to change this type from interaction to main effects. Then select both of these independent variable on the left side. Click this arrow button to move them to the right side, which means in our model, in our ANOVA model, we have main effect of these two independent variables. In addition to that, the next step is select here, this drop-down menu, select interaction. And we reselect these two independent variables on your left side. Make sure this is interaction, and click this arrow, move to the right side, which will gives you a new item under this model window, which is the multiply of your left finger 1, which is the length of the left thumb, and the gender. Okay, what does this mean? This means the interaction between these two independent variables. This is very important. We have to make sure everything is selected like this, and then we click Continue. Then of course we need to just check the options. And same, everything move to the right, click here, descriptive, estimate the effect size, parameter estimation, and homogeneity test. Continue. Okay. Here's our result. The same, like these are descriptive results. And Levin's test is not significant, means our ANOVA is valid. Okay, good. Now move on to our most important table, the between subject effects. Here, look at here. Now we have sex, this row of sex. This is the main effect of sex. Here's a degree of freedom and significance level, which is not significant because it's larger than 0.05. Okay, that means there's no significant difference between two genders, between populations of two genders, I mean. The next row is a left finger 1, which is the length of our left thumb. Does this factor, continuous independent variables, contribute to our hand circumferences? Let's see. Wow, this is significant because the p-value is 0.006. And of course you need to check the degree of freedom. Yes, it's 1. And in addition to these two main effects, and let's check the important part, which is unique for two-way or multiple-way ANOVA, that is interaction item. Here's the interaction item. You can see now this is not significant. That means the effect of left finger, the effect of the left finger 1 was not affected by the gender of the population. That's what this non-significant interaction mean. And also we need to look at this arrow item, which the degree of freedom is 50. Then this is useful for our writing apps. And the following are some further tests, and you might look at it for your write up. Okay, here's our demos for your one-way ANOVA and two-way ANOVAs, and it's especially you need to notice that when you run two-way ANOVAs, once you have an independent variable is a continuous one, you need to check the model option before you click the OK. You have to make sure both main fact and interaction item are selected under your model window. Okay, thanks.